Have you ever walked into a room and felt almost instantly that people had already formed an opinion about you? Perhaps in a meeting, a party, or even a casual encounter. That invisible weight of judgment presses down before a single word is spoken. It's unnerving, isn't it? That in mere seconds, sometimes less than a heartbeat, our minds, and the minds of those around us, can decide who we are, what we're worth, and even whether we are likable or trustworthy. Why is that? How is it possible that a fleeting glance, a smile, or even the way we hold ourselves can shape someone else's perception so profoundly? The truth is, humans are wired to judge quickly. Evolutionarily speaking, our ancestors didn't have time to sit down and analyze every stranger who approached. A flash of facial expression, a posture, or a tone of voice could signal danger or safety, friend or foe, and split-second decisions could mean life or death. Fast forward to today, and our brains still carry that ancient programming, even if the stakes are rarely as dramatic. In modern society, these instincts manifest as the phenomenon we call the first impression, the immediate assessment people make when they meet us. But here's where it gets fascinating. These impressions are made in as little as 7 seconds. Researchers at Princeton University conducted a study where participants were shown photos of strangers for only a brief moment. Within those first 7 seconds, people formed opinions about the person's competence, trustworthiness, and likability, and later, even after spending more time with the person, those snap judgments hardly changed. The brain's first impressions are stubborn. They cling tightly and shape behavior, often unconsciously. Imagine this: you walk into a job interview feeling nervous but prepared. You smile politely, extend a handshake, and sit down. You notice the interviewer nodding, slightly leaning back. Is it approval? Or merely comfort in their own posture? Meanwhile, the interviewer's brain has already started filing you into categories. Confident, unsure, competent, approachable, all within seconds, all under the radar of conscious thought. You might never know exactly what sparked their judgment. Was it your tone, your grooming, your energy, or something subtler, like your micro-expressions? And yet it's happening all the same. We often underestimate how much of this process is subconscious. Humans have a remarkable ability to read cues without realizing it. Psychologists call this thin slicing, a term popularized by Malcolm Gladwell in his book, Blink. Thin slicing refers to the ability of our brains to take tiny slices of behavior or appearance and draw surprisingly accurate or sometimes misleading conclusions. Think of it as the mind's internal algorithm for rapid decision-making. But here's the paradox. While these judgments can be astoundingly accurate, they're also prone to bias. A nervous laugh might be interpreted as insecurity. A casual outfit could signal disinterest. Our brains are clever yet imperfect. Consider a scenario. A shy student walks into a classroom for the first time. They avoid eye contact, speak softly, and sit in the back. Within moments, classmates may assume they are aloof, unapproachable, or uninterested. Yet the student might simply be shy, overwhelmed, or cautious. This is where the tension between appearance and reality emerges. People judge, the mind races to categorize, and often the truth remains hidden beneath layers of subconscious assumptions. But there's another layer to this story. First impressions are not just about how others perceive us. They also shape how we perceive ourselves. If someone senses judgment, even subtly, we might shrink, adjust our behavior, or put on a mask to meet expectations. Performance and authenticity clash. We start asking ourselves, am I really being myself? Or am I performing to match what I think others want to see? And in that struggle, a quiet anxiety takes root, echoing in boardrooms, classrooms, and cafes alike. Let's pause and reflect. Why does it matter so much what others think in the first few seconds? Perhaps because humans are inherently social creatures. Our survival, our sense of belonging, and our self-esteem are entwined with the opinions of others. The first impression acts as a doorway. It can open opportunities or quietly close them. It can encourage connection or trigger distance. And yet, for all its importance, the process remains largely invisible, unfolding beneath the surface of conscious thought. Now, think about your own life. Have you ever met someone and instantly disliked them, only to later realize that your judgment was based on something trivial, like their tone or posture? Or conversely, met someone and felt an immediate connection, only to discover layers of complexity beneath that initial warmth? This tension between instinctive perception and deeper understanding is where psychology becomes both illuminating and humbling. It reminds us that our minds are remarkable, yet fallible. What's even more intriguing is the emotional weight of first impressions. People often overthink how they are perceived. We worry endlessly about clothing, hairstyles, handshakes, or the exact right words. But here's the subtle truth. While presentation matters, authenticity often leaves the most lasting impression. A genuine smile, a calm presence, a quiet attentiveness, and these things communicate more than rehearsed perfection ever could. And ironically, trying too hard to control the impression can backfire, revealing tension and self-consciousness. This is where psychology meets philosophy. First impressions reveal not just what others see, but also what we value and fear. They expose our desire for acceptance, our sensitivity to judgment, and our struggle between authenticity and social expectation. They ask us quietly, who am I beneath the gaze of another? How much of my identity is shaped by what I believe others expect of me? In our daily lives, from job interviews to casual introductions, from online profiles to social media snapshots, first impressions are inevitable. Yet awareness is power. Understanding the psychology behind these snap judgments can help us navigate them with empathy, both for ourselves and others. We can recognize the rapid, unconscious nature of judgment, the thin slicing of behavior, the biases that creep in, and in doing so, we can give ourselves permission to pause, breathe, and approach interactions with calm clarity, rather than anxious performance. Ultimately, first impressions are a mirror, reflecting both our perception of others and their perception of us. They are fleeting, powerful, and sometimes unfair, but they are also an invitation to show up thoughtfully, to be aware of the signals we send, and to remember that everyone, on both sides of the encounter, carries the invisible weight of judgment, hope, and longing. Think about this. When someone judges us instantly, it can sting, frustrate, or even anger us. We might think, how could they assume that about me without knowing me? That emotional reaction is natural. But here lies an important insight from psychology. The emotion is ours, not theirs. Their judgment is a reflection of their own mind, their biases, past experiences, and mental shortcuts. It may reveal more about them than about you. Let's return to thin slicing. While it can be accurate, it can also be distorted. Our brains often rely on heuristics, mental shortcuts, to simplify complex social information. These shortcuts help us navigate the world efficiently, but can also mislead us. For instance, someone wearing a casual hoodie might be perceived as lazy or informal, even if they are highly competent and ambitious. Someone who smiles nervously might be labeled insecure, even if they're confident but cautious. Our perceptions are filtered through lenses we are often unaware of. Now imagine the emotional ripple of first impressions. You meet a person for the first time and sense disapproval. You feel a twinge of anxiety. You adjust your posture, your words, your energy, trying to win approval. Meanwhile, the other person is doing the same. Both sides are performing subtly, dancing around subconscious judgments. In that moment, authenticity struggles to breathe. And yet, when someone allows themselves to be fully present, fully human, something remarkable happens. The first impression becomes richer, more layered, and surprisingly honest. There's a lesson here. First impressions are not destiny. Yes, they are influential, but they can be softened, reshaped, or transcended through genuine interaction. Research shows that while initial judgments form quickly, repeated exposure, shared experiences, and authentic connection can shift perception over time. The mind is malleable. A first impression may open a door, but the second, third, and fourth impressions allow true character to shine through. Consider a real-life example. A new colleague enters a team meeting quiet and reserved. Initially, the group assumes disinterest or incompetence, but over weeks, through thoughtful contributions, quiet reliability, and small acts of kindness, the initial judgment dissolves. The first impression was only a thin slice, a fragment of truth, not the full story. And this reminds us of a larger truth. Humans are far more complex than any first glance can capture. Reflect on this paradox. We are quick to judge others, but slow to recognize the judgments we cast upon ourselves. Many of us experience self-criticism in the same instant that others are forming opinions. The mirror of the first impression turns inward. Do they like me? Am I coming across well? Am I enough? Here lies the subtle but profound insight. Much of the anxiety around first impressions is rooted in our own insecurities. Awareness of this fact can be liberating. So how do we navigate this delicate terrain? First, with self-awareness. Understand your tendencies. Are you overthinking the judgment of others? Are you masking your true self to fit perceived expectations? Recognize it gently without judgment. Second, with empathy. Realize that everyone is silently navigating the same invisible pressures. The person who seems critical may be just as anxious, just as self-conscious as you are. And finally, with authenticity. Let the signals you send and your expressions, gestures, and words reflect your true self as much as possible. Authenticity resonates. It invites connection, eases tension, and creates space for understanding beyond first impressions. Here's a quiet, almost philosophical observation. First impressions are both fleeting and enduring, fragile and powerful, unfair and illuminating. They remind us that humans are instinctively social, yet deeply reflective. They teach us about perception, empathy, and the subtle interplay between external appearance and internal reality. They invite us to consider not just who we are, but who we appear to be, and how the two align, clash, or harmonize. Before we close, let's pause with a reflective question. Next time you meet someone, or someone meets you, can you notice the instant judgments forming what's in them and in yourself, without letting them define the interaction? Can you approach the encounter with curiosity rather than anxiety, with openness rather than defensiveness? Can you embrace the tension between first impression and deeper truth, between instinct and insight, between performance and authenticity? Because here's the final insight. First impressions are a doorway, not a verdict. They are the mind's initial map of a complex terrain, but maps are not the territory. Behind every snap judgment is a fuller, richer story waiting to unfold, a story of personality, intention, and human connection that takes time, patience, and presence to discover. So the next time you feel the silent weight of judgment in a glance, a word, or a handshake, remember this: humans judge quickly because our brains are built to do so. But humans also understand, empathize, and connect over time. First impressions matter, yes, but they do not define the totality of who you are, or who anyone else is. And that realization, subtle yet profound, is the key to approaching life with both awareness and grace.